Hey everybody, it's your old pal Drew Geraci, and I just got this Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 3 in the mail. It's, I paid very little for it. It's a reading copy, and frankly, if the cover's in good enough shape, I have frames for them. Like, they sell these comic book frames at Hobby Lobby, I think, that are on sale a lot. So, I'm determined to get all his, all of his covers in frames sometime and find more space on my wall, because it's kind of taking up a lot of space with some other stuff from Kirby and Bob Layton and a little of this, a little of that, Michael Golden. So anyway, thumbing through this, I hadn't read this in years and years and years. It's been reprinted. It originally was reprinted in a 1984 Marvel DC were doing these, they called Baxter paper, really thick paper reprints. It was on matte paper, really nice stuff. And then this got reprinted, these got reprinted later on in, there was in 2000, they came out with the complete Steranko Nick Fury book, and it was colored, like a modern color, which was really over-the-top colors. And Marvel did this thing where they didn't pay Steranko the rights for it. They claimed because it was being published out of the country, the color was farmed out, so he kind of got ripped off there. But years later, they made right with him and got him. He got to his when his turn came for the Nick Fury issues of the Marvel Masterworks hardcover, top of the line reprints. He finally got his due. You got to see everything he did, and you got to see him go on for like 6 or 8 pages about his process, about his lifestyle, and all through the things where he was a magician, an escape artist, a musician, comic book artist, and he also designed Indiana Jones for Raiders of the Lost Ark. He actually got paid to do that and come up with the basic accoutrements that just a great 2-page spread pinup that you can find on the internet anywhere. So Steranko is a legend, and even as a kid, just about anybody who's reading the comics could tell he and Neil Adams were coming up around the same time in the comics world. They both came from advertising backgrounds too, and Neil Adams he said if you looked at a superhero in real life, it would look like one of his drawings, and he did know every feature of the body, every feature of the face, and all that. Now, Steranko knows a lot of that, but he would devote more time on more audacious storytelling. It was more like the imagery wasn't there to be stared at for long, because it's almost like building blocks in a sense that you want to come up with one cool feature. Like, I don't say mosaic, that's not quite the term, but I think you know what I'm getting at. So Steranko, and he would do that Steranko, and then there's 2 dots. I didn't understand for the longest time, but that's just him saying ditto. I inked my own cover, which is kind of funny. Sometimes you want to have Sinnott or somebody else come along, and you would see their name. So, first of all, I don't know how many times the logo got messed with in comics at the time. Neil Adams had an X-Men cover that had all the X-Men pinned to the logo, and that got rejected because it actually was very illegible. So what he did have to do is Neil had the Living Monolith break up the X-Men logo, and that was pretty cool too. So here we go. We just got this. 3rd issue. Steranko had been working for about 1.5 years on half of a book called Strange Tales, which Nick Fury starred in, and the other half was by Doctor Strange, done by various people after Steve Ditko left. They finally graduated their own books because the distribution deal they had with DC, the license had ended, so they were free to publish as many books as they wanted. So all the split books, Captain America and Iron Man got their own books, and some of the lesser ones did not last as long on their own. And it's mostly because the creators that could do a 10-pager or a 12-pager, they couldn't do a monthly book. And I hate to say it, the same thing with Steranko. I mean, you kind of it's a lot. He puts so much energy into it. he was never really a monthly guy. He did 2 issues of Captain America, and then Kirby had to come in at the last minute and do that amazing weekend issue 112, and then Steranko wrapped up the story, and then he left, and it was like he wasn't difficult to work with. It's just that he was experimenting so much. Instead of doing cookie cutter stuff, he wanted to take time to think at how a reader would enjoy a story, not just going through the motions, not just slug them in the face. Although I love Slugfest, I'm giving a Salvo Summon Slugfest anytime, I'm happy. Salvo Summon Slugfest, say it 3 times fast. So I consider this, out of all the projects that Fury that Steranko has done, this is probably his most audacious single issue, and I'll tell you why. This probably would not have been allowed, this page to start off like this, because what happened is Steranko, he kind of dug his heels in with issue 1 of Nick Fury, where the first 3 pages had no captions or word balloons or thought balloons, and he wanted to get paid for those 3 pages, but Stan was like, no, there's no words on the page, blah blah blah. And Steranko got his way, because he and Neil Adams they broke ground for a lot of people later on, who now they'd be like, oh yeah, let's do that Steranko bit, or let's do that like kind of Neil Adams thing. So this is like, you open a Marvel comic or a comic book that has mainly superheroes as their identity, and you go into something like this, and Dan Adkins is inking this, and he's done an amazing job here. And I'll zoom in on this Castle. Love that unfinished line work there. It's kind of, I'm sure Bernie Wrightson was looking at some of that stuff too. And what's also great is the gray area here is from duotone shading. Duotone is a certain kind of paper that has a chemical on it, and you get a brush, and it has a certain kind of chemical that you dip the brush in, and you could paint the details in. So this is part duotone and part ink. And Steranko is also responsible for the coloring of this. He's not responsible for some of the poor printing that came out. Usually his stuff was really gold, but at the end when you send it out to the press, you don't know. Okay, here's something wild. A 2-page spread. For one thing, I think Kirby might have been the only one who really did 2-page spreads on pages 2 and 3 at that time, maybe on Captain America or something like that. But Steranko saves the best information for the biggest images. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's like the rest of the book he kind of plays catch up, because he knows he's eating away at pages and it's a single issue. But I guess it's called the money shot. You know what I mean? It's so Dark Moonrise, Hellhound Kill. This is extremely innovative. This has been borrowed heavily by Barry Windsor Smith, Rich Buckler, even Walt Simonson, a ton of top talents. And it's a great thing. And Paul Galassi, yeah. And what's interesting, I'll get on Paul Galassi later, but and in this here, I mean, if you're a regular publisher, if you were like DC or Archie or any of that, and you left that one page like that, it's like, would you give it the green light? Well, Stan trusted Steranko and just loved what he did, so he did exactly that. Shamed by your English? Sometimes. If I'm good and drunk. So, well, it's a murder mystery, a ghost story, and it's about Fury coming over to, what is this place called? Ravencroft or something. I'll get to it in a minute. Me and Ken, we were both in a war together at Blitz and Hitler's goons. Haven't seen him in years. Suddenly, this cablegram shows up out of the blue. I was a sergeant, a big one, and now there was something he had to tell me, but what? Across the ocean to find out, mister. And now you tell me he's a... I'm afraid I fail to understand your interest at all. Are you a relative or Mr. Astor? Of Mr. Astor. Blah, blah, blah. He was warned by Lord Ravencroft not to wander over the moor after the dark, but he insisted. He was a local constable, and he knew what often the unexpected happens here when darkness falls. I guess maybe so, but I just can't buy that tale you put me. What'd you call it? The Hellhound. Pardon for the intrusion, gentlemen. Perhaps we can help. Huh, how do you help a dead man? The dead can sometimes help us. Permit me to introduce you to my colleagues. My name is Mycroft, and my associates, Countess Caution, and my young ward, Rachel. Countess Caution is such a James Bond type name. I love it. We're here at the request of Lord Gavin Ravenlock here at investigate the phenomena at the castle. You might call us psychic detectives, ghost hunters, if you will. Okay, let's get to the story layouts here. Okay, you're starting, a great establishing shot, and you kind of pull it away, and then you do this incredible, crane shot. That's what they would say in the movies. But his face is superimposed over it, so it's not like this is growing out of his head. It's quite obvious, and the shadows help tell the story too. It's just an inset, And one thing that way before Frank Miller was ever around, Steranko did a lot of drop-offs, like harsh white and black. They're called dropouts, and it's when an image just washes away into white. And the coloring, Steranko is responsible for the coloring. He does it for dramatic effect. It doesn't have to be for real, but when someone's lighting a pipe or a cigarette, you have to go with a yellow or an orange or something like that. And anyway, Ms. Whatever her name, Caution is, she's sort of like a medium, but they don't really go into great details. And I ain't had much on Ghost in that, but I've seen too much not to keep an open mind. So if you don't mind, I'll just tag along on your little ghost hunt. I don't see why. Good Lord! Here's another trippy page. This is so damn audacious of Steranko. He had already done some really wild, crazy shit in Strange Tales. But, first you get, you look at the background here, and for a minute there, you almost think it's like an M.C. Escher type a drawing where it just kind of folds in on a pot itself, and then you have this stack of armor. And you're not really paying attention to the stack of armor because you're going down here, and then what happens is you're not looking at the front of the armor, you're looking at the back, and it's slooping down on these two guys, and her alone in that panel, that isolation is great. She's a blind girl, and she's psychic, but it's like a hint. Also, it's interesting, the shapes here, kind of. It's just a storytelling. It's not for beginners. Let me put it this way: if you've read comics for a while, and if you study them, as long as I have, I call it study, but it's really just goofing off. But she's by herself. It kind of implies, she can't see anything, so she's sort of alone, and that's when you discover she's blind. But what's great is the dialogue and everything fall into place. Suddenly the hallway door is thrown open. Angus, it goes, I brought the beef. Where is the beef? Dumb joke, I know, going back to the late 80s. That's how fresh my humor is. But you go here, you have the shadows pouring this way and into that guy. You have the shadows going to that word balloon, that word balloon. You're seeing the people there. It's just a master class of how to do a very unnatural manner of storytelling. So the redhead, she kind of looks our way in a way. It's interesting because it's not a typical Steranko face. He sort of gives it I would say it looks like a fisheye lens. Like when you look through the peephole when you're at a motel on the shady side of town, you want to see somebody, you want to see somebody through the peephole in the dead of night with a baseball bat waiting for you. So I've actually had that happen once. Oh, I don't want to get this cover to come off. It's me, I just bought it. These shirts. Late in the 90s, graffiti, there was Graffiti Productions or whatever. They redid a lot of these t-shirts, and I remember I got a couple of them. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Graffiti Graphics, I think it was. Bear with me, there's a little spine roll, and I have no fingernails. I'm a nail biter, and I still touch pulp paper, so I'm surprised I'm still alive. So
This goes on for a while. I'm not going to read it all to you because it is kind of exhaustive, but it adds color to the storyline. It's a spooky story. It's just like Dark Shadows or something. And, it's on the moors. So, like, where's Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster? And Dan Adkins, some beautiful stuff on the on the crucifix or the headstone and the smoke in the background, or the clouds, I guess, to be more accurate. And it's really cool seeing Adkins working with him. And I just noticed this right here, this dog shape with the snout and all that. I'm wondering if that's in the, I guess that's just the way it was engraved, or if that was like a shadow to portend which to come. I'm starting to get all pretentious because I'm dealing with all this hoity-toity ghost hunting stuff. So nice going there. Beautiful. Look at that pseudo armor. Oi, oi, oi. And what I like too, the cobwebs. You miss them at first, and then you'll see them by his feet again. And so much is going on in there. And Adkins is probably cursing out Steranko. but you know, though, I worked on Thor for a few issues, and he had a costume at the time that had tons of little bit of plate mail, which is like chain mail, but it's square. And boy, oh boy, that was a hassle. And you'll see the cross hatching is getting lighter as it gets closer to the light source. And that's something I'm really big on. Well, the story does go down this way. This is just like a nice little treat. So you're not losing the reader at all. So they're going to try and do like this, everything short of a Ouija board. And the blind girl says, I sense a presence. It's coming closer. It's here. And I love the use of Zipatone, or Bende dots, you recall. Back then, Zipatone / Bende dots were dots that were on a adhesive piece of paper, and you can cut them and fit them to add depth to an image, usually graphic arts, and this is used well. It's all shadowed in, and then it's going down, revealing this girl, and he's monochromatic. You have some more the hair, there's no closing of solid lines, there's more drop-offs, as they call them. And bam, good old nick of time. And this here's where things get even more. As the book goes on, it gets more and more audacious and ballsy. It's like there's stuff where Stan loved it, and he must, against his better judgment, he published it because he's probably like, some of the storytelling, I'm not sure about it, but it's so groundbreaking. He acknowledges it by allowing Steranko to do these things. Or, you know what I'm saying? I love that. There's a drop-off for the face, the lips, everything, but it almost fits the contour of this guy's shadow. So if you were to look at it like that, that's almost his face there, And it's just great placement. And I like the different colors on both characters. That's very important. I've been colored where people would be in a night scene and both people were colored the same color, and pissed me off because it would just obliterate the imagery that I was going for. This is a very Paul Gulacy thing that this is the kind of thing that would really inspire Paul Gulacy. Like the something in the middle there, center, the whole Wes Anderson thing going on there. And what's great, I love how Fury in the second panel is holding onto his blades, and he's about to hit the guy, but he vanishes, fades away. Rachel, she's outside. She's on the moor. Not while I'm around, mister. Here, you may need this. Thanks. Give it a teeny tiny gun. And I love that dramatic crash. That's sort of like a... Let me get zoomed in. It's sort of like a throwback to like how Sergeant Fury would just like burst into shit. He's like bursting out. And Barry Windsor Smith, when he was just Barry Smith, he was eating this up too. And he even did some fill-in issues towards the end of the book, end of the titles run. It lasted 13 issues. Now you got another 2-page spread. You got one splash page, 2 double-page splashes. The coloring is wonderful. All this yellow, very limited palette, and that just adds drama to it. And I know it is different from some of the previous pages, but it's his comics, and Steranko knows his medium. He knows you're not going to make a comic book as boring as a TV show, and I've seen that a lot, with a lot of artists. And so he grabs the dog, starts chomping on him. They're like, "Oh my god, oh dear!" So he shoots, and he's like, "I can't hurt him. How do you kill a ghost? How?" And the other people, the rest come, and you got those drop-offs again. Hello, Mr. Frank Miller, here's your Sin City, right at you. And Fury's hurt, but he just couldn't. He couldn't take out he couldn't get the mutt, and he got away. Your hands, let me bandage him. So now here's one thing: if you guys and gals out there have an answer, I would really appreciate it. Now, I mean, I've read this a couple of times, and I don't know what that hand is about. I know it's like he's walking that way and zipping in it, and you go, "It's Angus. I heard the gunshots." Da, 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 da. Whose hand is that? And it's an odd. What the heck do we always call it? Tangent. It almost looks like he's holding a candle. This hand, but my question is maybe the only answer I could come up with, because there's nothing else. I mean, this guy's not going to be dead with his hand up in the air like that. I'm thinking this hand has to be from down this hill. That's the only thing that makes sense. So that's the one time that Steranko got a little too clever there. And that's just me being ignorant, whatever. Like I said, I grew up on him. I worship his work. And he's a hell of a nice guy, too. So, and there's Jenga. So, Castle Jenga. They should make a movie like that. And, and you gotta have a sarcophagus, of course, and you gotta have some spikes and the Iron Maiden and all that stuff. And Steranko's using that negative space with the shadows there. Very Sin City. As I said, I think Miller had a lot of this on his mind. Will Eisner did a lot of that too, but in comic books proper, regular comic books, that was not a common thing. So this guy goes to attack the gal, Rachel. He shows in. I like the monochromatic, he's like red, and his clothes are wine red. And I'm okay for now. Little insect. Here comes the doggy. And dig this. Blue, red, darker red, rust. Blue, light purple. Blue, green. Bam. It's like dramatic. It's like the color is the moment. The color, staggers the moment, stops us for a second. And then, here's where, if I were looking at this as a kid, I'd probably start doing a lot of drop-offs like that. And that's definitely like a Marv type thing. I know Frank Miller went far beyond and did some really wild, crazy shit with, different tricks. I'm just saying it sort of started here, at least in conventional, single issues, I guess. So he tells this long story. It's interesting. He said he couldn't get the dog. He couldn't kill the dog because he figured there were too many. Let me see, give me a minute. Oh, when he was trying to kill that one ghost, he says he probably got some weird ghost effect by bombarding his clothes with fluorescent dyes that glowed under some sort of blacklight rig. Same goes for the Hound. Of course, Alistair Ramson was his stepson. What's cool is Steranko was a magician, and he's revealing some of the tricks that he has used in the past. Because magic is sort of the art of misdirection. That's what you show people, and they'll be locked in on something, focusing on something else, and then ta-da! They won't know that you'll have a canned ham in your back pocket. So, and he also figured out the Hellhound. He was given a gun with no bullets in it. I gotta go back there. Sorry, everybody. Screwed up back there. Please forgive me. Oh, well, it comes back later.
I mean, I didn't get to it yet.
Like a little treatment at the bottom. I like how the page comes off. And then the most audacious panel ever. It's like blah 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 blah. Okay, here we go. Okay. Hear that rumbling? In a minute, the whole place is gonna be shook up. You see, that little tower in your backyard ain't as innocent as it looked. The panel I opened led to a deep underground chamber, following the winding stairs until a fountain ran smack into the sea and nearly knocked me out of my tail. A couple of dozen men in full-size submarine. In a full-size submarine. No, I ain't pulling you on. I could hardly believe it myself. Just below me was this what looked like a record room. I slipped into it to see if I could get a clue to the setup, and found a set of logbooks, and the puzzle started falling into place. Believe it or not, the real villain was Mycroft, or rather Miles von Croft, ex-Nazi U-boat commander who discovered the secret of Loch Ness and its underwater trenches and channels he holed up here after the war, and made an alliance with Lord Gavin. He traded his safety for treasure, and with his crew and his sub, he became a modern-day pirate, raiding ocean-going ships and singing them. The spook thing was only a cover. Gave him a chance to move around without any questions asked, but that's where his plan got hung up with Rachel. She was his ward, but she didn't know about this deal. She told us about her psychic talent, and he was right. Take it from me, she's got some kind of sixth sense about this stuff that won't quit. The thing is, she got scared. She found out a secret, so he planned to kill her too. Yeah, it was a neat little package, and I got a funny feeling it's all over. That rumbling you see. Before I left, I crossed a couple of their fuel mixtures lines, you see, and I turned the sub into a floating bomb. Sounds like their poor slobs already punched the starter button. Of course, that means the tower, Mycroft, Hellhound, and all must have fell in on the underground base. I'm like, woozy. I mean, that is audacious. That's like Steranko saying. I'm not saying he was like, well, I'm out of pages. I think he deliberately did that, because I think him and Neil Adams were the type of guys who plotted front to back, but he was like, I'm going to do all these big spreads, and then I'm just going to have this document dump at the end, but from the voice of Nick Fury, and make this seemingly haunting story into just, a dirty Nazi trick, and well, just goes to show you. Oh yeah, here we go. Because Mycroft tipped me off when he handed me that gun. It was loaded with blanks. Felt too light to have real bullets in it, and it handled enough guns in my lifetime to know. Of course, that's why he couldn't kill the Hound. Yeah, that's why he planned it. Probably trained the Hound too. See what I mean? So, it turns out this guy is, she's his ward. It's a long story. It's like, my brother had a caretaker then, and he had a baby, and he was sick, but his wife had lived through childbirth. He asked Mycroft to care for the blah, blah, blah. The child was you, Rachel. Oh, okay, you stay with me. And at the end, this actually puts me in mind of Will Eisner, where my thumb is here. Contessa Conscience, huh? What do you say we get acquainted, huh? How's about swapping a couple of ghost tales? Yeah, it looks like I can put this trip on the old Shield expense account after all. And so the curse of Ravenlock comes to an end, but not before many lives had fallen neath the ancient blood oath. Who was it said, the evil that men do lives after them. Perhaps he was right after all. We'll let you be the judge. Really neat stuff, but it's so odd. It's like most editors would pop a cork, even today. I mean, if it was not a creator of a book, they'd be like, you just can't be doing this. And it's so audacious, but it's beautiful. It's brassy, it's Steranko, and that is why we love Steranko. And the great thing about Steranko is he really, good bad thing is he hadn't really done a lot of comics, But on the plus side, you can collect them all and you can afford them all. I have the giant artist edition of Nick Fury's Shield, and good God, it's amazing. So, anyway, let me know what you think, and tell me your experiences of this, and throw out some other names of artists that he inspired, that or inspired him. And remember, Steranko colored his own books, so he used color as a storytelling device. Wow, that still knocks me out. I snuck that in there. I mean, it's not exact shape of his face, but to the eye, it is immediate. Yeah, wow. I didn't pay that much for this one, and it's kind of fragile, but the pages are a nice color, off-white. So, really, really cool stuff. And again, it's like, goes down, down, down. It sets a direction. It's like a camera. He thinks like a camera. Like a director of a movie. Blah, 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 blah. Come on, sweetheart. It's like Contessa Caution, huh? With that name, I think I might be cautious too, because who knows? Who knows? You might wake up you might be in bed one night, then you wake up and you're in the bathtub and your kidney's been cut out. So anyway, that's it. That's Jim Steranko's still with us, thankfully, and I have a lot of stuff of his that's autographed. And he was just a general very nice guy to me. And the Steranko history of comics it needs to be read. It's very vital. It came out in the early 70s, had a very fresh take of the golden age. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this. And I should have saved this for a Halloween episode, but screw it. Talk to y'all later, and don't yield back shield. Bye.